Welcome to Living with Intuition Coffee Chats, your source of real perspectives, insight, and humor from down to earth, kick ass intuitives. Join Lindsay from Super Secret Powers and Andrea from A Soul's Journey with Andrea as we delve into today's coffee chat. So we have Andrea from A Soul's Journey with Andrea, and I am Lindsay from Super Secret Powers. And we have no idea what we're doing with the tech stuff, but we are here for you if you want to get empowered with your intuition. And so we have the Living with Intuition coffee chats. It has been a day for me, but I do want to say, happy new moon, micro new moon to everybody.
Theo.
Yes, it is like, I know they say like it's supposed to be like an extra sensitive day, and I have been feeling extra sensitive, but I don't think it's the moon. I really don't. I think it's my body saying like, you're old, you're tired, you're going into menopause. Just, pamper me a little bit. Oh, so how have you been, Andrea?
I've been good. I'm house sitting. I think every time I come on here, I'm in a different place. I'm in Pennsylvania. Sometimes I'm in New York. That's why I say I'm in Pennsylvania. These guys have been very cuddly, and so I've been in this mode where I have a dog on my lap, and I don't want to get up. So that's kind of like where I've been. And I really think that it's a wonderful thing to have that kind of pet therapy, because they calm you down in a different way. And I think this has a lot to do with what we're going to talk about today anyway, that it soothes you. Like if you have a cat purring on you or a dog upside down on your lap, like she saw before we went live, licking my face and making you laugh, it helps you shift. It helps you come into yourself again, because they always say, that's pure love. With pets especially, they know what pure love is, and they can help model that for you so you could feel it too. And I think that I get that wherever I go, I have a cat or a dog that is making me laugh, making you feel all cuddly inside, because we're cuddling up, we're sleeping together. This one likes to go under the covers at night and like right up against my legs. I think that helps you feel better.
Yeah.
Oh, she's coming over. I don't want to leave the computer. Okay, no, she's looking out the window. I think that helps you, calm down. You have a crystal in your hand that helps you calm down and recenter, so you can think differently, more clearly about your situation and what you're going through. And I think we all have those kind of mechanisms that we use.
Yeah. We've all developed habits. It's just whether whether they're good for us habits or not.
Right.
But let's start at the beginning here. I'll ask the question, but I'll also give my own answer at some point here. I've been having some headaches. So if I'm a little bit more quiet this time around, it's okay. I'm fine. It's just old blue-haired lady stuff. This was supposed to be purple, by the way. The box said purple. Anyway, I talked about that on the other video this week. Excited the dogs. What was I going to say? Oh, let's start at the beginning. How do you recognize when something is anxiety or purely a piece of guidance that you don't necessarily like getting? How do you differentiate?
Sorry, things are popping up. I've always been very in tune to myself, and like we were talking about before we got on, I have this normal conversation with my higher self since I was a kid. So I'm always talking to myself, my peeps up there, my guardians, guides, and ancestors, and everybody are always here, and we're always talking and having a conversation. I'll be driving and having a conversation. I yes, sitting here alone having a conversation. And if I feel that I get the heart palpitation-y kind of things, and the tightness in my chest, my neck will bother me. And I know right away that that's something that I need to get rid of. That there's something bothering me that needs to be dealt with. And I need to change my perspective so I can find a solution to the problem and move forward. And so that is different for me than, like, we talk about what the moon phases do to us, and meteor showers, and what the cosmic juices flowing does to me. It sometimes has similar effects. I do get anxiety from stuff like that too.
Yeah.
But it's not that whirlwind of thought. It's, I need to take a nap because there's downloads coming in kind of feeling that's gotten me all jittery. And that's like my solution: meditation, taking a nap, maybe eating better, maybe more water in my day. And I can settle that stuff down. But if it's a more negative thought thing, and it's like, oh God, I don't have money to pay the bills. Oh God, what am I going to do? I need to get my car fixed. Those kind of things that we all go through. And it's just, oh, it won't shut off. That's the stuff that I know that I have to deal with right when it starts. Those first symptoms, or the depression, the anxiety, the isolation for negative reasons, starts with me. And so that's when I have those conversations. What's triggering me? What do I need to work on in the shadow self? What is there a different way to look at this? Am I just paranoid for no reason? Am I taking this too far? I say this a lot to myself.
Yeah.
Just in this very moment right now. Don't be in the past, don't be in the future, just be here now. What can you control? What do you need to hand over? It's like, you just have a process. I have a process I go through, and I could feel the release start as soon as I go there with it. And it might not happen all at once. There's things to work through, but at least I don't let it escalate. It's starting to tone down right from the beginning because I'm acknowledging it in the appropriate way.
Right. And I hear the question a lot, like, how do you tell the difference between anxiety and intuition? And I and I think, like, you did tap on this, which is why I wanted to bring it out as a separate point here. That intuition, like, to me, even intuition and you're like just the general concept of like excited feelings, let's say, or big feelings. So big happy feelings, big sad feelings, like big feelings. It's kind of the same, except when it comes to those big feelings, they're usually a sign of something going on internally. With the happy, the big happy feelings, of course, like, we don't have to interpret that. We're happy. We tend to enjoy it. I think it slips out of awareness fast because we are able to be in alignment with being happy because, it feels good. Anything other than that, other than, happy, content, serene, all those feelings, peaceful, anything other than that, the confusion, the worry, the stress, the anxiety, like, they stand out to the mind, I think, because it's survival mechanism. It's, why are we feeling this way? There's some kind, like, something awful is happening if I feel this way. And sometimes we make up stories about why that is. And that's really, like, going to the cosmic part first. that's really when, like, that's a nice fine point where you can like look back in your discernment and say like, you know what? There really wasn't any reason why I felt that way. Like nothing bad actually happened the last 5 times this happened. I was just anxious. There wasn't even anything going on in my mind. I
Right.
was just like, my whole body was like, "Ugh," for no reason. All right, then, maybe it just has something to do with the retrogrades or some kind of high intense geomagnetic energy, like the Schumann was spiking that day, that kind of stuff. But when it comes to then having to look at the more internal stuff, the stuff that you have to dig a little deeper on, I do have, I do have my own process. It's just that I don't treat it necessarily different than I would treat an intuition, like if I was like in a haunted house. Like on a paranormal investigation, I would go in there, I would do some prep work first, get myself really grounded, really centered within myself, so I can recognize where my baseline is when I'm going into that. So that way, when I'm there, I can say like, now I have a stomach ache. I didn't have that before. I didn't eat anything. I'm not particularly feeling personally stressed out, but there's this weird niggle. Okay, there's a weird niggle. Do I trust that means something? Yes and no. And here's where I start that whole process of, is this a sign or is this a feeling? It has to be personal for one thing. So you already have to have that discernment in a way of it being, this is my feeling. So if you need help getting there, I mean, we're certainly the ladies to talk to on that, right? If you need help figuring out if this is actually your feeling, or if you're an empath who picks something up and now you're trying to chew on something that isn't yours.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely come talk to us. We got stuff for that. Knowledge we have, training we have, yeah.
The wrong way sometimes. It's like I think it's all about me because that's the way it feels. I'm like, is she mad at me? What did I do? What did I do? What's wrong with what's wrong with me? But it has nothing to do with me. You're tired. Yeah, you got things on your mind. You had a hard day. I have a dog that has to go out, so I'm gonna have to excuse myself for a second. But it's like that there's a discernment with that too, because you have to be able to step back and go, wow, okay, was I just taking that way out of context? Like too personal, too like too sensitive about somebody, somebody else's feelings, and it had nothing to do with me. That's me. Always me. Like,
I don't know.
like me kind of thing.
I've come to that point where in my own self-acceptance, where I don't necessarily care if people like me or not. I mean, generally, yeah. I mean, I have blue hair. I dress a little funny sometimes. I try and be very personable, but that's just kind of like who I am and how I was raised, because I don't take myself so seriously. I mean, I take what I do and I take the message and I take the mission seriously, which is why, I'm even here talking about how I feel and how I experience anxiety. But after I realized just how much I was picking up when I was younger, even 10 years ago, and how it sank my battleship 10 years ago. Yeah. I've really just learned to, take a step back from the whole thing, because at least one of the things that I find really affects my experience of anxiety, and whether it is managed or whether I can allow higher reason, higher vision, higher self to come in, is the experience of time. If I am not experiencing time, I am probably panicking. I am probably like on the deep end of anxiety. If everything feels like it is so imminent, it is all happening right here in this eternal now moment, it's always this horrible torture. Like, if I'm starting to go, like, then I know that there's some kind of misalignment within myself, because that is not the truth. It's just not the truth. Like, period. And so I really, like, my whole process now at 45 is just like, all right, then speak truth to yourself and let that sink in, because it isn't all happening right now. I mean, it is, but it isn't. But yeah, it's not all happening right now. The bill that's due, and I'm just making shit up here. The bill that's due has a different timing and a different flow and a different urgency than, you know, the misunderstanding I just had with my kid. Then the dogs are being wild today, and it's really got me feeling jaggedy or raggedy, whatever. Those are very different things. And once I come back to the truth that no, like, it isn't all happening at once. And then the other truth that usually gets me on a better keel is none of it, like, very few things out of this is going to last forever.
Yeah.
So then I'm able to, like, kind of like, all right, I see this thing. Oh, okay, this thing is like a 5-minute thing. This thing, I can take care of that in a day or two. This thing, this is a thing I have to live with a while. So that's probably where my priority has to be. But yeah, I probably shouldn't be all up in everybody's business over it. I just, I need to figure out where I want to be with the thing that's going to last longer. Right. You look like you had something to add to that, Andrea.
I don't know. I got distracted by the dog.
Oh, sorry. Okay. I saw a thought. Okay. It was just dog
Oh.
thought.
Here's one. I did this, and all of a sudden it was gone. Well, yeah. See, this is why I don't think.
Very sweet puppy.
It's Callie. Callie. I just I know what that feeling is when the whole world just seems to be rushing around you and every thought's in your head, and time does kind of go nowhere fast. The computer's gonna go. She wants to be part of. Okay. I I don't. Sometimes it's hard if I let it go that far. I'm gonna disappear soon. I, I I feel like if I don't catch it when it starts happening, then I have no thought at all. The world is spinning, and I don't know where I am anymore. I don't know. Like, you could be talking to me, like I could be trying to go about my day with all that in my head, and I won't remember my day at all. We're not going upstairs yet, girlfriend.
The dogs know the energy's up and something is happening. They just can't figure out what it all means.
I know this is your first time with this. Sorry. Okay, I'm just as hyper as you are. That's all. I'm gonna die.
Oh, you muted yourself.
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay. If I don't get myself out of that mode right away, then my whole day is gone. Time stood still, and I don't know where I was, what I was doing. You could have told me something so important, and I won't remember anything. I know I've been there. I've done that. My mom will tell me something, and I'll, like, 3 days later, when I'm all out of it and I passed it and everything, she said, I told you about that. I remember the conversation. And I was like, oh, I don't.
No, you're right, though. There is almost like a tornado vacuumy kind of sensation behind it, isn't there? Where
Yeah,
it's just like,
it's very chaotic mode.
the more you feed into it, the longer you stay in it, the harder it is to see your way
Right.
back out of it, because then you begin to believe that those things that pulled you down are some kind of absolute, incontrovertible truth,
Oh, the stairs go.
when it's not.
Right. And I know, if there was a time, like back, like when I was in my 20s, I would let that spiral out of control. It would affect my work performance. It would affect my sleeping. It would affect everything around me.
Bring it down. No. She says it's playtime. No, but I remember those times too. Especially when I was a teenager. And I think then there's also a hormonal thing maybe attached to that. When your hormones are imbalanced, it's easier to trip those light. Trip the light's fantastic. To trip the light's unfantastic. That's what I was trying to get to. You're on mute again, darling. I figured that happened because of the dogs, so I was just talking.
Peter, I would be in bed for like a week, and I know it has to do with my cycle and everything too, and like that extra depressive kind of feel to it and everything. But I would be in bed for a week over it, and the feelings would just cycle around and around and around, and I wouldn't be able to come out of it because I let it go so far. That's why now I'm pretty good at that day, the first day. Sometimes that first like couple minutes, now I can do it, but definitely that day, that maybe an hour or so in, I'm like, whoa, what are you doing? You're just like spiraling downward fast, Andrea, dude. Well, what's going on here? And then we dissect it. But I know now that I don't want to feel that way.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what helps me the most is that yuck is not a good thing for me, and I know I can do better. So I want to get out of it fast. It's a real motivator not to go down the yuck tunnel, And I think once you figure that out and you know how you want to feel, it helps you learn how to react to things like that. Because, well, you are reacting. You should observe your feelings, your emotions, the situation, and not so much react to it.
Yeah.
And,
right.
and let go of the expectations of things a little bit more, and just take it as face value as what it really is.
Right. Well, okay. But and see, here's the thing, because sometimes I'm able to do this thing where if I recognize the thought tornado pulling me down, I recognize that sensation, I recognize the swirlingness of what's going on. I recognize that like none of it is true. And like 90% of it is bullshit, because out of all of those thoughts, like there's only ever like maybe a kernel of truth in there. And it's my job to get to the truth. But you know what? I've been dealing with this stuff for a while. So it's not that I don't know these truths, right? So all of this is just kind of this bullshit cycle, this bullshit tornado. So sometimes I'm able to just press like fast forward. Yeah. I hear you.
I've learned that I don't want to not do it sometimes. I like to get it all out. I says it's not wrong to have negative feelings. It's not wrong to, because I used to think so. I used to think, oh, I got to be positive all the time, and these things aren't good, so I'm going to hide them all. And that's when I erupt even more because I held it in. So now I acknowledge it and I move forward with that sweet release of all that stuff that was built up in me, and then that helps you get clearer on what really is the bottom line. And there are times that even though I've worked through most of it, it's good to talk to somebody like Lindsay or her husband Rob or my mom or somebody and just like throw it at them. And they might say it in a totally different way than you were saying it to yourself, and then go, oh yeah, oops.
So the
No, I
interesting
think that
thing,
you get that moment that you kind of like, you
yeah,
understand it better because they said it differently or a little bit more in tune, like
the interesting thought here is that, I mean, all right, we can't heal others. We can only facilitate the healing to help people to heal themselves, right? All right. Yes. But but we are also all reflections of the oneness.
Mhm.
And the healing we do for ourselves is like a reflection of the healing that other people are doing for themselves. So like it's this weird mirroring, but we're all healing from source kind of situation, or we're recognizing the healing pattern maybe in each other while everything is being healed from source.
Because
So
a lot of
you have like one individual, you have another individual. Of course, you have source kind of encompassing them and streaming through them. And as you're like going to a healer or going to a friend, it's like you're creating this synergy of recognition and acceptance and bringing things further deeper into awareness, conscious awareness that these things are real and actually happening.
Right.
But yeah,
Because it's a lot of times it's when you say that I needed to hear that, it's that I need to hear it a different way. Lindsay's words, even though it's the same thing I was telling myself, and like my intuition was like whispering in my ear that I need to do it this way or this needs to change or something. But when somebody else says it to you, it's like this confirmation that you're not crazy about what you were hearing and what you were thinking you had to do. And all of a sudden, it's so very clear. It makes so much more sense that all of a sudden you're back on track. And well, with Lindsay, sometimes I fight it first, but
well, and sometimes I have to like speak things out, whether it's to another person or to myself,
saying
or
it.
to myself and my guides as I like wander around the house muttering to myself. Because I have to, something about hearing it.
Yeah.
Like, I have to hear myself say something. And then
Mhm.
be like, oh, well, okay, yeah, no, that's bullshit, Lindsay. You just want that to be true because it sounds
Oh, I
nice.
just said that out loud, and now I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
oh.
But I kind of get the same thing out of recording myself on video.
Mhm.
I'm able to translate and process myself and hearing wisdom. And even I went like when I started doing my channeling and my light language work, I would just go and I would sit in front of the computer for an hour at a shot and I would record myself. And then I'd go back and I'd watch it, but not like watch it, but like, I'd feel into it.
Right.
And see where I was with that and watch my whole being.
Mhm.
And it's weird reflexive learning, but I got something out of that.
You understand what your real truth is. It weeds it out.
Yeah.
It does.
And so I think that's the lesson of the day here is that the anxiety stuff is really just a call to come back to truth on some level, whether it's the truth about something very basic and universal like timing, right? So that you're not lumping everything together and you're recognizing then the individual timing of all these things you think you have to do. Because, once you open up to the
Overwhelmed.
universal self a little bit more, sometimes that perspective changes too. And what was the other thing? The other thing was, I said it earlier.
No
Sorry.
brain.
I've been, like I said, I've been on and off with a headache since we've been talking. So I guess I've been working something out here. But, so when I'm in anxiety, it's like one of two questions. It's, is this all really happening right now? No. But ultimately, whatever that other question is, I'll fish it out of the text later or the conversation later. Ultimately, though, it's just realigning with the actual, let's say, bare bones, facts, truth about whatever situation, circumstances you're in. It is like then the stripping away of expectation. Because a lot of times it's our expectation or our worry that we're perceiving something out there correctly.
Right.
That is what's in misalignment.
And it usually has not, it's nothing like you perceive it when you're talking about the outside world, about what other people think of you, about how bad that could really be at work. Did you really screw that up? Or, is somebody really mad at you? Or, you put all these things in your head that aren't even true. And that, it's a weird paranoia thing that comes in with it. And unless you can catch that quick, it can really spiral. And like it used to. I used to think people were talking about me at work. I used to be so insecure, and it does have a lot to do with how secure you are with yourself. When you have those kind of thoughts that, why do I care what they think of me? But now I say that, but back then it was like, are they talking about me? Am I in trouble? I didn't do anything. Why do I feel guilty? I didn't even do anything. It was just like these weird things in my head all the time. I was like, why, Andrea? Why do you feel guilty for something you didn't even do? And there's things that happen in your childhood and stuff. Like I'm a psychology buff, so I go there. But there are things that you learn from a kid. Like, you might take what your parents are doing, the adult situations, as that 5-year-old's mind, and think that you did something wrong.
Yeah.
Or they got divorced because of you, or they're fighting because of you, or I think you blame yourself for things that have nothing to do with you when you're too young to even be able to
properly recognize the context of the things.
And
Yeah.
like as an adult, you don't even remember doing that. It was just this natural thing that happened. So
Right.
so
It took me total sense to you
have,
at the time. So it
you
didn't
have
stick out.
insecurities. You don't even know where they came from. Like, why do I think I'm always guilty? Why do I blame myself for everything? Why don't I think I'm good enough? I don't understand where it even comes from. I have no experiences to back this up. It's like I don't understand why I feel this way. It's like, so that's what you have to just start talking to yourself about and say, well, if you have nothing to back it up, if you have no proof of these things, then it isn't so. And you shouldn't feel that way about yourself, and it takes time to get that out of you. Obviously, it doesn't happen overnight, but the more you recognize it, you catch it real quick like that, the easier it is to deal with, because
Yeah.
it's stuff that you just don't know. You have to go back to your childhood and see the things that have happened, like the adult things that have happened, so that you can figure out what you might have took the wrong way.
Assumed. Yeah. Assumed was truth, but
Right.
yeah.
But it wasn't, because you could never have possibly understood it at 5 years old or whatever. Because they say all your memories and all your,
Right.
like all your beliefs and your values and all are formed before the age of 7. So, my parents got divorced around that time. We moved around that time. I changed schools around that time. There's a lot of things going on that could have put those kind of things in my head. teachers could put things in your head you don't remember. Any family member, you could go with your grandma and they said something and you took it the wrong way. It doesn't even have to be just your parents, but there are things to take into consideration. If you don't know where it came from and you have no proof, then it's probably something you assumed when you're a kid.
And well, even if like you can then identify something that you did get from somebody else, you have to give it that grain of salt that you don't know where it came from in their lives.
Yeah.
Like, were they actually really speaking to you when they said that? Or were they speaking to a part of life they really didn't like?
Right.
Themselves or about themselves or their own past? Because sometimes people say things and it's like a loaded conversation because they're not really talking to you. It's like they're really just talking to the universe and you thought it was about you. And
you come in at the end of a conversation and you don't know how it started. So you're just assuming what happened. There's so many scenarios that could put these things in your head over time. And then you keep thinking that every time. And then it gets reinforced because you weren't on top of it like you are now. And so it's had time to be reinforced. And then your mind just thinks that's the truth after a while, and that's, where some of that comes from. And you have to take that into consideration.
yeah, I mean, when you're, I think,
No,
when you're little, certainly,
but,
because then you take like adult things as more real or more valid. But yeah,
right.
right. I mean, deconstructing that, yeah, it takes time. But once you start hearing things within yourself, like
It's
once you start hearing where that truth is, it's easier to hear it from then on. And as it comes up, then you're like, oh, that's another one of those things, isn't it?
right. You have to keep thinking about it. Like if you've never heard this conversation before and now you are from us, then now you can start thinking this way. It's like, where did that thought come from? And, could it have been something from when I was a child? Think back to the things that went on in your life, what kind of personalities your parents had and your grandparents had, and maybe teachers or somebody. And if you could have been taking things wrong, if you could have been, I think everybody's done it. I don't think you can get away with getting through childhood with not having those kind of beliefs instilled in you just by accident like that, just because you're innocent at that point and you have nothing else to go on.
Yes.
So this is what you're going to take because this is all you know to take.
And that was the other thing, though, that really helped me along my anxiety journeys and like integration, healing kind of journeys, was coming back to this idea that I can trust my innocence.
Yeah.
My innocence is not a detriment. I am not wrong for being innocent, for wanting to be innocent, for having been innocent. Like that, like it isn't like innocence,
Right.
the way we come into this world, how we're supposed to be. In a sense, I mean, we have to grow with wisdom too, but I'm not saying but so many times we judge ourselves and we judge our childhood and our teenage years for having innocence, for having been innocent,
And just
for having not known better, for having, like not realized that,
adults, I think we perceive people in our own way, and we make this definition of who that person is to us, and we assume it's correct because that's all we know. But the fact is that you don't know what that person's like when you're not around. You don't know what they've been through, and everybody has their own kind of secrets. Not that, deep, dark secrets, but just like things you don't talk about, things that you're not supposed to really talk about. They're just part of you and your past or whatever. And I think we assume things about people, and we don't, and we come up with this definition that isn't sometimes accurate. And I found that out during my divorce, that, you sometimes you don't really know people the way you think you do. And I think that plays a part in how we perceive things, and why we think we're being judged by others, and why we the way we feel the way we do about things.
Mhm.
And you have to sometimes step back and just look at it from a different perspective, that you don't know everything. You're not walking in their shoes, and maybe it had nothing to do with you. Maybe you need to be a little bit more sensitive to somebody else's needs. Maybe it just, I don't know. I think we don't take the time to really just be with things.
Yeah.
And I think that's why the assumptions just become our normal reality after a while. And we
Well, I
kind
think
of
that's the
just,
brain thing too. I think
well,
we
that's
get
what I mean. Well, yeah,
over, as a Western society, I think we're very much raised to rely on the brain's interpretation on things.
right. And
When we have other sources of wisdom that we now have to unlearn to be able to learn to integrate, like, the heart stuff and the spirit stuff. And
that's
yeah,
why our intuition is so valuable when we tune into it, because it helps us discern that stuff better.
yeah,
I think we filter out the things that our mind is just telling us about certain things, and we're able to see past that and see more of the beauty in life than like society programs you to see.
yeah.
And I think that just helps us in general in the way we work through things, the way the way we can help others as healers, because we kind of get rid of that judgment that is just implanted in us.
No, we don't need
We're
to
we're
be
we're
in
consciously,
that much judgment, I think, just the idea that we constantly need to be analyzing and poking and prodding and,
there's
like,
so much more judgment in our lives than we even think.
yes.
I mean, I catch myself. I'm like, why did you even think that about that
Like,
person?
why do I care? Sometimes I find it like,
Why
why
did
do I even care?
you stereotype somebody or something?
Oh, wait, I don't.
But it's
Cool.
an automatic thing that you go to, like, and then you're thinking, that's not me.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. I guess I don't need to care about that then.
Where the hell did that come from? Get out of there. It's like, but that's part of the intuition. And the wonderful thing about it is that you know better now. Like, it's like it helps you understand and sort things out better.
That's awesome. But if you like this talk, we have a much, much deeper talk, a much, much more focused talk on anxiety and intuition in our Unleashed Masterclass. You have to get to day 4 to get to it, but it is definitely there. And, last time it was such an amazing day and such an amazing transformative space that we had created around that talk, and how, you can really begin to step into this experience that, emotions can be guideposts, but it doesn't mean you have to take them to be the literal be all end all beacon of truth, because oftentimes it's just the 444 that comes across your phone that just gets your attention in the first place, right? And you have to go a little deeper to find the message, what it actually means to you.
Right. But it says
And
stop and look and listen, kind of like,
we want to create that kind of space and create that kind of community. And we started a paid membership back in May and June. And we are doing the second round of doors open for membership kind of thing. And for that, we are doing the 5-day Unleashed Masterclass experience. I say experience because it's not so much about learning as it is about experiencing your own energy, experiencing, what the difference is between, you rolling out of bed and, what your energy could be like if you
knowing
open
yourself
up
better.
your intuition and your soul self just a little bit more. and the clarity and the confidence that can come through with it. So if you like this talk, certainly sign up for Unleashed. You can find the link in the comments below. And I can't wait to see what kind of magic comes up with this for this round, because I have a feeling it's going to be so different and so much more juicy than the first time. Because the first time, it was the first time we were nervous and we were a little like, okay, do we have all the pieces? But I feel like I could finally just go deep. Okay, I can just go with this. This is amazing. And I can't wait to have that experience with you. And if you like us, certainly follow, share, subscribe to A Soul's Journey with Andrea and Super Secret Powers for Lindsay. All right. And love you all. And we will see you next Wednesday for Living with Intuition. And brightest blessings. Happy new moon.